The Batman uses the noir genre to present a more critical take on the character than most other adaptations, but it still makes the case that even a bleak version of Batman can still be a symbol of hope. We're talking all about it this week in Kaden's Movie Club. Spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen it, get out of here. Noir movies are often focused on some sort of crime story, with main characters being private detectives, cops, or gangsters. And these stories were tonally dark. Their plots often revolved around the protagonist investigating a murder that exposes corruption in the system. So stylistically, they were also literally dark. The term film noir is French for black or dark film. So we see a lot of silhouettes and shadows and foggy alleyways. And there's a lot of other tropes that are associated with the genre, like the main character having an inner monologue.
I was thinking about that dame upstairs and the way she had looked at me.
With all of that in mind, it makes complete sense that the Batman emphasizes the character's role as a detective. Throughout his history, Batman has had a lot of alternate titles like the Dark Knight or the Caped Crusader, but one of them is the world's greatest detective. Matt Reeves decided to make that the focal point. The plot really gets going after the Riddler assassinates Gotham's mayor. At this point in the story, Batman is still early in his career. He's been doing this for about 2 years. So there's this automatic tension when he arrives at the crime scene because he's not supposed to be there.
Are you kidding me, sir? You gonna let him in here?
They should be arresting him because he's a vigilante. But it's clear that the reason they don't is because they've learned he's a really good detective.
He lies still.
Excuse me? The riddle. What does a liar do when he's dead?
He's easily answering the riddles, he already knows how the killer did things, he's even guiding the photographers to points they missed. But this isn't the first thing we see of Batman. The way the movie introduces us to the character is really important for understanding what the story is getting at. Using one of those noir tropes we talked about, Batman narrates his nightly patrol.
Fear is a tool. They think I'm hiding in the shadows, but I am the shadows.
And it brings up a very common idea for Batman, that this persona is intended to strike fear into criminals. They're afraid to go into the dark because there's a chance the Batman might be in there waiting for them. But when this group targets a man commuting on the train, they encounter the Batman for real, and we learn something really important.
I'm vengeance.
We can tell that Batman's violence here isn't tactful. It's aggressive, it's angry, it's, as he says, vengeful. He's not just saving the victim, he's using this as an opportunity to take out his own anger and pain on somebody else. And the moment that really solidifies that is when the victim is the only person left. He's just as scared of Batman as he was of his attackers.
Please don't hurt me.
So with that context for the character, we come back to the crime story. Right after the mayor, the Riddler then assassinates the police commissioner as well. Batman and Gordon realize that the clues Riddler is leaving behind are pointing to a bigger conspiracy. They're led to a thumb drive that's rigged so that when Gordon plugs it into his laptop, it sends evidence to all the press.
What was that? The drive. It sent out the photos from my account.
That not only was the mayor having an affair, but he was visiting the Iceberg Lounge, which is a known hangout of crime boss Carmine Falcone. Riddler's next clue reveals that there is an informant or a rat that's key to understanding the conspiracy. Riddler promises to reveal himself if Batman can reveal who the informant is.
Follow the maze until you find the rat. Bring him into the light, and you'll find where I'm at.
And again, he provides evidence that his victim was corrupt. This time, the commissioner is shown profiting from a drug deal. So the Riddler isn't just assassinating at random. With every target, he's also exposing their crimes and the fact that the entire system is corrupt. The interesting thing here is that Riddler's motivations set up a moral contradiction. It's clear that he's not a hero whatsoever, but at the same time, he is exposing how the rich and powerful of Gotham are keeping themselves in power by abusing the system that's meant to protect people. There's even a point where Batman acknowledges that Riddler's victims aren't exactly innocent.
You make it sound like he had it coming.
Here's a cop. Cross the line.
In the opening monologue, Batman mentions that after 2 years of trying to make a difference, things have only gotten worse. And now we have the Riddler, who, despite his horrific actions, is making a difference. And on top of that, they're both masked vigilantes, so the story is holding the two up for comparison. But the biggest threat to Batman's identity comes when the Riddler reveals that Bruce's own parents are connected to the conspiracy. Before he died, Bruce's dad, Thomas Wayne, was running for mayor. He launched a program called the Gotham Renewal Fund that was intended to help revitalize the city, but it's through this program that the conspiracy was born. After the Waynes died, crime bosses like Carmine Falcone teamed up with Gotham's officials to abuse the Renewal Fund. Since it was essentially an endless pit of money with no oversight, they used it as a front for all kinds of crimes. And even worse, it appears that Bruce's father paid Falcone to stop a reporter from publishing a story that would have exposed some embarrassing family secrets.
Thomas Wayne tried to force this crusading reporter into a hush-money agreement to save his mayoral campaign.
The movie doesn't have to rehash the point that a key part of Batman's motivation is living up to his parents' memory, because it knows we know that as an audience. So what does it do to Batman if he learns that his parents may not have been who he thought they were all along?
All these years, for him, believing that he was a good man.
He was a good man.
At every turn of this movie, Batman is actually failing. Citizens are afraid of him, the Riddler is a step ahead of him, and he's forced to confront that his parents' legacy and the reason he's invented the Batman might all be based on lies. With this new information, Batman is able to figure out that the rat is actually Carmine Falcone. He wanted even more money, so he orchestrated a way to cut out one of the other crime bosses and frame it as a historic drug bust for the GCPD. But in reality, it made it so the mayor, the police commissioner, and the DA would all be essentially working for him. Batman helps Gordon arrest Falcone, but then Falcone is assassinated by the Riddler. This appears to be the Riddler's final move, and he then allows himself to be caught and taken to Arkham Asylum. Batman visits him there, and it's a pivotal scene both for the plot and the thematic arc of the movie. Riddler reveals that from his perspective, he hasn't been working against Batman at all, but rather they've been working together.
We've been doing this together. You're part of this.
We didn't do anything together.
We did. What did we just do? I asked you to bring him in the light, and you did. We're such a good team.
We're not a team.
And if you think about it, it's true. It was through Batman that Gordon put the thumb drive in his computer and evidence of the mayor's corruption was revealed from an official source. It was through Batman that the Riddler tried to get the district attorney to confess who the rat was in public. And it was through Batman that Carmine Falcone was brought into the light where Riddler could take his shot. Batman has unknowingly been aiding the Riddler this whole time. The irony is that the Riddler thought it was on purpose. In fact, the Riddler was directly inspired by Batman.
You showed me what was possible.
You showed me all it takes is fear and a little focused violence. You inspired me.
When the Riddler realizes that Batman thinks he's psychotic and wasn't helping him, he has a breakdown.
Pathetic psychopath.
Begging for attention.
You're gonna die alone in Arkham. A nobody.
But Riddler has one final trick up his sleeve. He has a secret plan to flood the entire city as a way to truly cleanse it. And he plans to use that flood to assassinate a final target, the new mayor of Gotham, Bella Real. The whole movie, Real has been shown to be a candidate that actually wants to make a difference. So the fact that Riddler has made her a target shows us that he believes the city is beyond saving. He's so disillusioned, he refuses to trust anybody anymore, even if their intentions seem noble. But how does he plan to do this when he's stuck in Arkham? The Riddler has been building an online following of other disillusioned young men, and he's influenced them to do his dirty work for him.
It's time for the lies to finally end.
We'll give him a real change now.
When Batman rushes to the city arena to try and stop the Riddler's followers, he has to finally come face to face with the truth of what he's inspired in the city, especially when one of them repeats the very thing he said at the beginning of the movie.
Who the hell are you?
I'm vengeance.
It's here that Bruce finally realizes that whatever his intentions were, his method, leading with fear and anger, has only inspired more fear and anger. This character arc is by far and away the most we've seen a live-action version of Batman engage directly with some of the possible flaws in the character's ideology. But the story doesn't just leave it there. Matt Reeves clearly believes that Batman can be a hero. Batman transforms into a literal guiding light as he leads everyone out of the flooding arena. And this is the first time the citizens of Gotham are not afraid of him. In the opening scene, we saw him returning back to the Batcave just as the sun rose, but here, he continues helping people in broad daylight. Both figuratively and literally, this iteration of Bruce has allowed his Batman persona to move out of the shadows and into the light.
Vengeance won't change the past, mine or anyone else's. I have to become more.
He understands that if he's truly going to help the people of Gotham, he can't just be a symbol of fear or vengeance. He must fully embrace the Batman as a symbol of hope. And how does this hold up with all of the iterations of Batman we've looked at this month of Movie Club? Adam West and William Dozier delivered a Batman that was deliberately campy. It brought laughter and joy to its audiences, but Batman was never portrayed as less than a completely earnest hero. Tim Burton brought the world the first Batman blockbuster that established there's always a duality between Batman and his enemies. Christopher Nolan gave us a detailed examination of Bruce Wayne as a character and how a person like that might be motivated to create Batman. And through that story, acknowledged the importance of Bruce Wayne helping Gotham just as much as Batman does. Chris McKay used the tone and world established by Phil Lord and Chris Miller to offer a comedic take on why Batman shouldn't be a character that operates only in brooding isolation just because it looks cool. Bruce Timm and his team showed us that the noblest version of Batman views the persona not as a form of vengeance, but as a responsibility and calling. And then Matt Reeves used the detective noir genre to present a critique on exactly why Bruce Wayne cannot view the Batman as a vessel for vengeance, because in its wake, it will inspire the wrong kind of people to do the wrong kind of things. We learned that even a dark and gritty character like Batman must inevitably walk into the light to motivate change through hope. Batman is such an enduring character because, like the best legacy characters, there are some iconic elements that we can always hold on to. There's the fun things like the imagery, the gadgets, and the Batmobile, but I think the underlying stories stick with us as well. Stories about a person transforming past trauma into strength, or about a person fighting against all odds to save a crumbling society. And those elements, whether it's the themes or the icons, have resonated so strongly that we allow them to evolve over time. With each new generation, we get to see new artists come and make a statement. By seeing how Batman evolves, we see how we ourselves have evolved as a culture. At any given point, whether it's the 60s, the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, the 2010s, or now the 2020s, we have a reference point through this character. We can look back and use Batman as a tool to ask, what was the cultural mindset at the time? How does that compare to now? And how might we and Batman evolve in the future? With the Batman being our latest version of the character, how do you think it represents our current culture? And with the next chapter, what kinds of themes do you think we'll see? I'd love to hear what you think, so give me all your thoughts on the Batman and our monthly theme as a whole. And that wraps up our March Movie Club. Tomorrow I'll be announcing the theme and lineup for April, so stay tuned. And if you want to stay in the know about Movie Club, you know where to go.